The gym lights flickered overhead as Sarah wiped the sweat from her brow, her breathing ragged from another grueling set of lunges. She glanced over at Ian, her personal trainer, whose warm smile sent a surge of energy through her. It had been months since she'd started this fitness journey, but now, standing in front of him, the lines between encouragement and something else blurred. She wasn't sure when the extra workouts had become something more, but she could feel it in her chest, a tension that had nothing to do with physical strain. 6 months earlier, Sarah's decision to join the gym had been simple. She wanted to get back in shape, to feel more confident in herself after years of letting her fitness fall by the wayside. Her husband, Matt, had been supportive, though somewhat distracted by his own busy work schedule. They had been married for 7 years, their relationship comfortable but stagnant. Life had settled into a routine that left little space for the sparks they once had. When she first met Ian, the gym's top personal trainer, she had been nervous. He was the kind of person who exuded confidence, with an easy charm and a physique that made him seem almost untouchable. But Ian had a way of making her feel comfortable, pushing her just enough to meet her goals, but not so much that she felt overwhelmed. At first, their sessions were purely professional. Ian guided her through the workouts, correcting her form, encouraging her when she struggled. But as the weeks passed, Sarah found herself looking forward to their time together in a way she hadn't expected. He asked about her life, listened when she talked about her frustrations at work, and offered advice when she vented about her marriage. She couldn't help but notice the way his eyes lingered on hers, the way his compliments felt personal, not just about her progress, but about her as a person. One evening, after an especially tough session, Ian suggested they grab a smoothie from a nearby cafe. It was innocent enough, a post-workout treat, but something in the way he asked made Sarah's heart flutter. She hesitated for a moment, thinking of Matt at home, probably busy with another work call, unaware of how much she had changed in the past few months. The cafe was small and quiet, the kind of place where conversations could stretch late into the evening unnoticed. As they sat across from each other, sipping their drinks, the air between them felt different. Ian's gaze held hers longer than usual, his compliments drifting into a territory that made her pulse quicken. "You've come so far, Sarah," he said softly, leaning forward. "It's not just about how you look. You're stronger, more confident. You're amazing." Sarah smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the smoothie. "Thanks, Ian. You've really helped me a lot." The conversation shifted, becoming less about fitness and more about their personal lives. Ian shared stories about his childhood, his failed relationships, his dreams outside of the gym. Sarah found herself opening up in ways she hadn't with anyone, not even Matt. By the time they left the cafe, it felt like more than just a professional relationship. It was a connection, something deeper. At first, Sarah convinced herself that it was harmless. Ian was just a good friend, someone who understood her in a way Matt didn't seem to anymore. She continued to meet Ian for extra sessions outside of their scheduled ones, under the guise of wanting to make more progress. The sessions turned into late-night chats and the occasional coffee, none of which she told Matt about. The secrecy ate at her, but she rationalized it. Matt was busy, distant, absorbed in his career. They hadn't truly connected in months, their conversations reduced to routine exchanges about the day's events. Sarah didn't want to believe she was doing anything wrong. But the more time she spent with Ian, the more the boundaries between friendship and something more blurred. Then came the night. Everything changed. It was a Thursday evening, and Matt was out of town for a work conference. Sarah had finished her workout with Ian, but instead of heading home, they ended up at his apartment. It wasn't planned, it had just happened. They had been talking about something trivial, but the next thing Sarah knew, she was sitting on his couch, the tension between them undeniable. Ian leaned in, his hand resting gently on her arm. "Sarah, you know there's something between us, right?" Her heart raced, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and guilt. She knew what he was saying, and part of her wanted it, wanted to feel wanted in a way she hadn't in so long. But this was wrong. She was married. She loved Matt, didn't she? Ian, we can't, she whispered, though her voice trembled with uncertainty. I'm married. This isn't right. He pulled back slightly, but the intensity in his eyes didn't fade. I know. But it feels like more than just work between us, doesn't it? Sarah couldn't deny it. She had crossed the line. This wasn't just about fitness anymore. It was an emotional affair, one she hadn't even realized she was falling into until it was too late. She stood abruptly, needing to escape the situation before it spiraled further. I need to go, she muttered, grabbing her things. This can't happen. Guilt gnawed at her over the next few days. She avoided Ian, canceled their sessions, and tried to refocus on her marriage. But the damage had been done. The distance between her and Matt felt even more suffocating now that she knew what it felt like to be truly seen by someone else. Then came the day Matt found out. It was a Friday evening, and Sarah was in the kitchen when Matt came home early. He tossed his bag on the table, his expression tight. We need to talk, he said, his voice strained. Sarah's heart sank. She turned to face him, the guilt she had been burying for weeks bubbling to the surface. I found your gym bag in the car, Matt said quietly. Your phone was in there, and so were the messages from Ian. Sarah's breath hitched. She hadn't meant for him to find out this way, hadn't even considered the possibility that he would check her phone. Her mind raced, trying to find the right words, but nothing seemed sufficient to explain the emotional mess she had created. Matt, it's not what you think, she began, but the words felt hollow, even to her. Isn't it? Matt's voice cracked. You've been hiding this from me, Sarah. You've been spending all this time with him, and I can see it. It's not just workouts. You've been pulling away for months. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized the gravity of her betrayal. She hadn't physically crossed the line, but emotionally, she had gone too far. She had let herself become attached to someone else, and now she was on the verge of losing everything she had built with Matt. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I didn't mean for it to get this far. Things between us haven't been the same. Matt's eyes were filled with a mix of hurt and anger. I know we've been distant, but I thought we could fix it. I didn't think you'd turn to someone else. The days that followed were filled with difficult conversations and heartache. Sarah cut off all contact with Ian, determined to repair the damage she had done to her marriage. But the trust that had once been there was shattered, and the road to recovery was long and uncertain. In the end, Sarah realized that fitness wasn't just about strengthening her body, it was about finding balance in her life, and she had lost that balance along the way. Now, she had to fight to regain it, both in her marriage and within herself. Some lines, once crossed, can never be fully erased.